Did you know that over 85% of motorcycle cooling problems come from just one part? What is a water pump? Today, I'm going to share 9 symptoms of a bad water pump. So, what's a water pump? It's a small pump with an impeller that moves coolant between the engine and the radiator. It keeps heat under control by pushing coolant in a constant loop. Whether your bike's carbureted or fuel-injected, single or V-twin, the water pump plays the same critical role in your cooling system. You'll usually find it low on the engine case, behind a small cover with coolant hoses attached. Let's break down the 9 telltale signs your water pump is failing before heat cooks your head gasket. Symptom 9. Mysterious coolant drip. You park the bike, walk away, then catch a faint green or pink puddle under the engine. It's not oil, it smells sweet, like syrup on hot metal. You wipe it away, thinking it's just old coolant from an overfill. But the next day, it's back. That slow drip is your water pump talking. Most pumps have a weep hole, a tiny exit that leaks coolant when the internal seal wears out. It's designed to vent failure before it becomes dangerous. Problem is, most riders miss it. Here's your test. Clean the area with a rag, fire up the bike, and let it idle. Watch the water pump area closely. If fresh coolant starts forming around the weep hole or behind the pump cover, that seal is toast. No pressure test needed, just your eyes. Fixing it is simple if you catch it early. Most water pump rebuild kits run between $30 and $80. You'll replace the mechanical seal, O-rings, and gasket. Do it now, and you're golden. Ignore it, and the engine will start cooking from the inside. Coolant loss leads to overheating. Overheating warps heads, destroys gaskets, and totals engines. Expect a $1,200 plus bill if you let it ride. That small drip often comes before something louder. The next sign's all about sound. Symptom 8. Grinding or whining noise. You're cruising steady, then hear it. A dry whining sound that rises with the RPM. It's subtle at first, like brake pads dragging. Then it grows. It sounds like something spinning that shouldn't be. That's the sound of worn water pump bearings. As they degrade, the impeller shaft starts to wobble inside the housing. That wobble causes friction. Friction makes noise, and soon that noise becomes damage. Want to check it? Kill the engine. Let it cool. Then gently grab the impeller or pulley and wiggle it. Any side-to-side play means the bearing is shot. A good bearing spins true. A worn one feels loose or crunchy. The fix? Replace the bearing before it seizes. Many water pump kits include new bearings. Expect to spend around $80 to $150 depending on your bike. If the impeller has been grinding, replace that too. Let it go, and the impeller could gouge into the pump housing. That turns a $150 repair into a $400 replacement. Noise fades, but heat doesn't. If the bearing's slipping, the pump's flow drops. And the next thing you'll notice is your temperature gauge creeping up. Symptom 7. Rising temperature gauge. You're riding normal speeds, no traffic, decent weather, but the temperature gauge starts rising. Not spiking, just slowly climbing past its usual spot. That's not a hot day issue. That's a circulation issue. The impeller inside the water pump might be corroded, slipping on its shaft, or even broken. If coolant isn't moving, heat builds up fast. The engine has no way to shed it. Quick check. Let the bike cool down. Open the radiator cap, start the engine, and observe. You should see coolant flow immediately. If it stays still or pulses weakly, the pump is failing. To fix it, replace the pump or impeller unit. Kits for most bikes range from $60 to $150. And while you're in there, flush the old coolant out. It might be part of the problem. Let it overheat, and you're looking at a warped head, blown gasket, or worse. Repairs for overheated engines often cost $800 or more. As heat builds, pressure does too. If your seals are weak, the next symptom will leave coolant running down your crankcase. Symptom 6. Coolant leak from weep hole, persistent drip. Unlike a mystery drip, this one doesn't stop. Every ride, more coolant pools under the bike. It gets worse after shutdown, and the smell is stronger now. Warm, sweet, and constant. The mechanical seal has fully failed. Coolant is leaking non-stop through the weep hole. Worse, it might be mixing with oil if the inner oil seal is also compromised. Check the weep hole. If the leak continues with the engine running and doesn't slow when cold, it's not just worn, it's done. A sweet, oily residue confirms both seals are toast. Time to rebuild or replace the pump. Kits with dual seals and impeller parts typically cost $90 to $160. Labor is moderate, a good weekend project. Keep riding like this, and coolant can contaminate your oil. That means bearing damage and crank rebuilds. Easily a $1,500 mistake. Let that leak go too long, and coolant finds its way into your oil. That's when the real damage starts. Before we hit the next signs, make sure to subscribe. Catching these issues early saves you from wallet-crushing repairs. And let us know in the comment below, do you do your maintenance yourself or not? Symptom 5. Milky oil. You pull the dipstick and it looks wrong. Not just darker or dirtier than usual, it's light, frothy, and beige. Like a milkshake. That's not engine oil. That's oil that's been contaminated with coolant. It's one of the most obvious signs something deeper has gone wrong inside your motor. When both internal water pump seals fail, coolant begins to bypass its dedicated channels. Instead of circulating through the radiator and engine jackets, it leaks into the crankcase. There, it mixes with the oil, forming an emulsion. This mixture is a terrible lubricant. Bearings don't get the oil film they need. The crankshaft spins in sludge. Piston skirts scrape dry cylinder walls. It's internal damage in progress. The first test? Pull your dipstick and wipe it. If the fluid is cloudy, creamy, or smells sweet, you've got contamination. Drain the oil completely and inspect it in a clear container. Swirls of different colors confirm your suspicion. Sometimes condensation alone can create similar signs, especially in cold climates. But coolant contamination is usually thicker and persistent. Fix it fast. Rebuild the water pump with a new mechanical and oil seal set. Most rebuild kits cost around $100. Flush the contaminated oil. Refill. Run it briefly, then flush again. Use fresh oil and a new filter each time. You need to purge every trace of coolant. That adds another $40 to $60. If you ignore milky oil, you're flirting with catastrophe. Bearings can wear out in minutes, friction rises, heat skyrockets. And then, you're paying for a full engine rebuild. Crankshaft, rod bearings, cam journals, they all suffer. Expect $1,500 to $2,000 in parts, and labor if the damage goes deep. Even if your oil looks clean, don't relax just yet. The coolant may be giving off quieter warnings from the other side of the system. Symptom 4. Bubbles in the coolant. You take off the radiator cap while the engine is cold, start it up, and notice something strange. Tiny bubbles begin to rise to the surface, constantly. Not from boiling, not from high revs, just a steady fizz, like soda in a glass. That's a pressure leak. These bubbles are air pockets entering the system, usually from a failed water pump gasket or a leaking shaft seal. When air invades your cooling system, it disrupts the flow of coolant. Think of it like a clogged artery in your engine's cardiovascular system. The result? Uneven cooling, unpredictable hotspots, and a higher risk of local overheating. Test this only when the bike is stone cold. Open the radiator cap, start the engine, let it idle, watch carefully. You shouldn't see constant bubbling. Occasional tiny air releases during warm-up are fine, but continuous bubbling, especially if accompanied by a rising temperature gauge, is a red flag. To fix it, replace the water pump gasket or seals, whichever is responsible for letting air in. A gasket set typically costs $20 to $40. After the repair, flush the system completely and bleed it of all air. Trapped bubbles can keep the problem going even after you fix the original leak. Leave this unchecked, and boiling begins to happen randomly. One day it might be fine. The next, your hoses swell, your overflow bottle fills, or the coolant boils inside the engine block. That kind of pressure cooks plastic radiators, weak hoses, and even cracks pump housings. Expect $300 to $500 in replacement parts if the failure spreads. Coolant under pressure should stay sealed. If it doesn't, the system starts losing fluid fast, and you'll find yourself topping it off way too often. Symptom 3. Coolant level keeps dropping. You refill the radiator. Everything seems fine. You go out for a ride. 2 days later, you check the level again, and it's dropped. No visible leaks. No puddles, nothing on the ground, just a mysteriously vanishing coolant level. That means one thing: internal loss. When the water pump fails internally, coolant doesn't leak out onto your garage floor. It goes somewhere worse, into your engine, through seals, past gaskets. Sometimes it evaporates inside the combustion chamber. Other times, it slowly leaks into the crankcase. The trick here is to find the path. Remove the oil fill cap and check for a creamy film. Pull the spark plugs and look at their tips. Are any of them unusually clean or white? That could be a cylinder being steam cleaned by burning coolant. You can also add a UV dye to your coolant and use a black light to spot leaks that happen only under pressure. Don't assume it's just normal evaporation. Coolant doesn't vanish on its own. If you're adding it weekly, you've got a leak, even if you can't see it yet. A full water pump rebuild is your best move. Kits range from $90 to $150. Include the impeller, all seals, and new gaskets. While you're in there, flush the entire system. The same invisible leak that loses coolant can also let air in. Ignore the signs, and one day there won't be enough coolant left to cool anything. That sets the stage for the next symptom, the visible escape of heat. Symptom 2. Steam or overheating underload. You're riding uphill in slow traffic or stuck at a long light. Suddenly, you smell something sharp, like sweet antifreeze burning. Then a hiss. Steam shoots out from behind the radiator or around the tank. Pull over, and you realize the coolant is venting like a tea kettle. This isn't normal overheating. This is what happens when the water pump fails under stress. Under load, your engine generates more heat. The pump is supposed to ramp up flow to keep temps stable, but a bad impeller, a worn shaft, or internal cavitation means the coolant doesn't circulate fast enough. It stagnates, it boils. To check, start the bike, get it warm, and gently rev the engine while watching the temp gauge. If it spikes quickly under load or the radiator starts hissing, your pump is falling behind. A replacement water pump will run you $100 to $180. Be sure to also replace the coolant and flush out any overheated fluid. Burned coolant becomes acidic. It can corrode your entire system. If you let this go, you risk thermal shock. That's when one part of the engine gets way hotter than the rest. Aluminum heads crack, gaskets fail, cylinders warp. The repair costs can reach $1,500 to $2,000 easily. But even this isn't the worst case scenario. That comes when everything fails at once. Symptom 1. Total coolant loss, engine overheat. You're cruising along, then it happens. The temperature light flashes red. The bike begins to bog. You smell coolant, hear a clunk, and suddenly the engine cuts out. You coast to the side of the road, smoke trailing behind. This is complete water pump failure. The impeller may have shattered. The shaft might have seized, or the gasket has blown out, dumping coolant in seconds. Either way, the system has no pressure, no fluid, and no circulation. The engine overheats in under a minute. Once cool, check the radiator. If it's bone dry and the oil looks burnt or milky, the damage is already done. Repairing this isn't just a water pump swap anymore. You'll need to replace the pump, flush the entire cooling system, change the oil, and inspect the top end. If the head is warped or the gasket is gone, the engine must be pulled and resurfaced. Expect $1,500 to $2,000 in repairs at minimum. The real fix? Replace the pump before it ever gets here. A $60 kit can stop all of this if you catch the signs early. Don't let it get to this point. Check your coolant level every 500 miles. Flush it once a year. And if your water pump's leaking, even a little, don't wait. A $60 rebuild kit saves your engine from a full top-end teardown. But if your radiator fan isn't kicking on when it should, that's your next weak link. We'll break that down next, so hit subscribe and stay ahead of the failure.